Once upon a time there lived a fish, and her name was Fishy-Willa. She lived in the coral reef with 3 mean sponges. They always told Fishy-Willa to do all the work. One day she heard them talking about a ball, and she wanted to go to the ball too, but the stepfather said, "You can't go because you're not a sponge like us." Then she heard a voice, and it was a magic polyp, and the polyp said, "You are going to that ball, bro."
Listen, don't interact when I'm talking.
Then the polyp took Fishy-Willa to give her everything she needed. And then Fishy-Willa went to the ball with beautiful clothes. Then she was dancing with the prince, but she had to go, and her fin fell off. And her fin fell. Then the prince tried it on every princess in the town, and he finally went to Fishy-Willa's 3 mean stepsisters, and it didn't fit. But then Fishy-Willa came, and the fin fit her perfectly. And the prince and Fishy-Willa lived happily ever after.
Cinderella Giraffe was getting ready to go to the Prince Cheetah's birthday party. The prairie dog stepsisters told her to clean up the whole house while they were gone. Her fairy grandmother Zebra came and gave her a crown and sent her to the party. At 10 a.m. she had to leave. She lost her crown on her way home. The prince found her crown and came in his carriage to her house. He tried the crown on the evil prairie dog stepsisters, but it didn't fit them. So he tried it on Cinderella Giraffe. It fit! Prince Cheetah and Cinderella Giraffe lived happily ever after.
Once upon a time, there lived a kind and sweet dog named Cinderella Prairie Dog, and the 2 mean stepdogs and a mean stepdog. They made Cinderella Prairie Dog do a lot of work, but Cinderella wanted to marry the prince. But the mean stepdogs said no because she did not have something to wear, and the grasslands party was going on. And then a buffalo swift his tail, and Cinderella Prairie Dog's furry fur changed into a beautiful clean fur, and the pumpkin into a carriage, and Cinderella sat in the carriage and rode away to the castle, and away she went, and the prince looked up and said, "May I have this dance?" And she said yes, and they danced till the clock struck 12. Cinderella ran away to the carriage and rode away from the castle, and Cinderella's magic nail fell off. Then the prince tried it on every maiden, but it did not fit anyone. And finally he arrived to Cinderella Prairie Dog's house, and tried it on the 2 mean stepdogs, but it did not fit on them. Then Cinderella Prairie Dog said that, "Can I try it on?" And it fit perfectly, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Once upon a time, there were 3 mean toucans and a sweet and generous parrot, and her name is Rosie. They lived in the tropical rainforest. One day, a prince's servant left a note saying there is a water party. she is not going, and she needs to do all the chores. Then she went to the river and she cried. Then a snake came and took off a scale and waved it, and she was off to the water party. And she danced, and it struck 12, and she ran away and dropped her blue diamond crown. The next day, the prince searched the land, and he knocked on the door, and then they entered the tree, and the sisters tried the blue diamond crown, and it did not fit. Rosie came and tried the blue diamond crown, and it fit, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Once upon, once upon a time, a, there was a nice and working camel named Cinder Camel. She lived in deserts with three bad camels because they told lies about her. One day she went outside. The three camels were laughing because they had four humps and she had two humps. Later that day, the prince announced the pyramid bar. When Cinder Camel was dressing the three camels, one of them said if she wanted to go to the pyramid, but she said yes. One of them cam- the camels said no, she can't go the when they the three camels left. She started to cry, so to wanted to cry to a pyramid. Then a cactus appeared, and and said, "Why are you crying?" "Because I can't go to the ball," said Cinder Camel. "I will throw a spike, and this will hurt a little bit." Then a dress and a sparkly hump put on. When she arrived, the prince said, "We dance?" "Yes," said Cinder Camel. They danced all the songs on on title until the clocks reached midnight. She started to run, then a hump fell off. Then the princess said, "Whoever prince said, this hump I will make." The next day the prince tried to hump, tried to hump to every girl camel until they came to a house. Then they came in. One of them wanted to try it first. Then the cowbird said, You you are too fat for the hump. The second to to the second camel was too little for the hump. The third one was too big for the hump. Then it was then and it fit perfectly to Cinder Camel. The next day they marry and live happily ever after. Once upon a time, there were three green snakes and one kind camel called Cinderella that lived in the desert. The Cinderella is really loved with the prince, but the prince was in a ball, and Cinderella didn't have a cottage. And then suddenly a fairy cactus showed up. Cinderella went to the ball. She danced with a prince, and then when the clock struck midnight, she ran away, and a glass slipper fell off. The prince tried the glass slipper on the two stepsisters, but it didn't fit when Cinderella came down. When Cinderella came down, the prince put the glass slipper on Cinderella, and Cinderella found love, so they lived happily ever after.
Once upon a time, there lived a cinder camel who lived with two mean snakes. Cinderella's problem was that she wanted to go to the ball, but the stepsisters told her that she cannot go to the prom, and ripped her pink and white dress. The ball was at the pyramid. Cinder Camel wanted to go to the pyramid. Next, the two step snakes left the house. Then something magical popped up. It was a fairy lizard. After that, the fairy lizard changed Cinder Camel's dress into a big blue dress with 4 glass slippers to the ball. She sent her to the ball. The clock was at 12. Cinder Camel ran down the steps. She lost 1 glass slipper. The prince picked it up. He tried it on to every girl in the town, but no one could not fit it. So then he tried Cinder Camel. It fit perfectly. So then the prince found her queen, and lived happily ever after. The end. Once upon a time.
Cinderella Giraffe was getting ready to go to the Prince Cheetah's birthday party. The prairie dog stepsisters told her to clean up the whole house while they were gone. Her fairy grandmother Zebra
with three bad boys.
came and gave her a crown and sent her to the party. At 10 a.m., she had to leave. She lost her crown on the way home. The prince found her crown and came in his carriage to her house. He tried the crown on the evil prairie dog stepsisters, but it didn't fit them. So he tried it on Cinderella Giraffe. It fit! Prince Cheetah and Cinderella Giraffe lived happily ever after.
To go to the waterfall party.
Okay,
And
there you go.
magic came.
So now you're going to type.
Cinder's Snake said,
You're going to type Cinderella Giraffe
the magic god name is
right here. Cinderella Giraffe. Can you type that for your title? Yeah.
and the robber who did marry prayer that had a wish made at the waterfall party. After 12 a.m. Cinder's ran, then she lost her crown. The prince returned the crown. Then the prince found herself a really Once upon a time there lived a Cinderella that lived in a temperate forest with some mean animals that was making fun of her. She wanted to go to a party, but she didn't have nice clothes to go with. Appeared a lovely squirrel that said, "Why are you sad?" asked the squirrel, and Scissor Owl said, "They are making fun of me." And the squirrel gave her a dress, and Cinderella said, "My shoes." And she said, "Oh, yes." And she said, "Bibbidi bobbidi boo." After that, she gave her a nice pair of shoes. She went to the party, and she danced with the prince. And when it struck 10, and she ran to the door, and she dropped a pretty ring, and the Prince Owl said, "Every animal must try it on." And the skunk tried it on. It was too big, and the deer tried it on, and it was too small. And Cinderella said, "Can I try it on?" And it fit perfectly. And they got in love, and they talked for a little bit, and the prince asked, "Why did you run away?" And Cinderella said, "I don't have any nice clothes." And the prince said, "If you marry me, you will have all the things you want." And Cinderella said, "I don't know." And the Prince Owl said, "I don't know." And the Prince Owl said, "You can think about it." And she said, "Yes, I want to marry you." And the Prince Owl said, "We must get married tomorrow." And the day came, and in the morning they got married, and they went to a party and danced, and they went to a party and they danced and danced, and they ate spaghettis, and they talked to their friends and laughed and danced salsa, and they put on their bathing suits on, and they went in a hot tub. It was really hot, and they ate fruit and drank apple juice, and they fell asleep. The next day they woke up. They were too tired to wake up, and the Cinder Owl said, "I am too tired to wake up because yesterday we stayed up until 3 in the morning.
you can wake up. And Cinderella said, fine, I will wake up. And Prince Owl said, we have to be in another party. And they got ready and got in a car, and they got to the party. They went to the fair instead and went on a roller coaster and ate a hot dog and went home, and they fell asleep. And that is the end of the Cinderella story.
Once upon a time, there lived a kind animal named Camarilla. She lived in the desert with her two mean geckos who always made fun of her. One day, a note came from about a fun party. The two geckos were thrilled, so they got ready to go to the party. Camarilla was too dirty to go to the party. Then a fairy god snake appeared. Then Camarilla said, who are you? Said Camarilla, I am your fairy god snake. Then she waved her wand and gave Camarilla a necklace. Meanwhile, Prince Camel saw a pretty camel named Camarilla. They danced. Then it was midnight. Everything turned back to normal. Next, Prince Camel had to find the princess that fits the necklace. Next, Prince Camel went to Prince Camarilla's house. It didn't fit the two stepsisters. It fit on Camarilla. Finally, Camarilla, Prince Camel had a wedding, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Once upon a time, there lived Trouble Forest house named Cinder Bunny, but two meteors are being mean to Cinder Bunny, but he wants to go to the ball. Cinder Bunny, he was sad because he wants to go to the ball, but he was lonely because the deer was making fun at Cinder Bunny. The fairy godmother came to see Cinder Bunny because the fairy godmother, she wants to see Prince to return back at midnight.
Once there lived a beautiful toad named Cinderella. She lived in the wetlands. She had two evil step snakes that bullied her. Cinderella saw a newspaper. There was a fashion race. She wanted to go, but she had a lot of chores to do. She saw a bird and it tweeted, and that made her chores beautiful and her chores. And she went to the fashion race. But there were a lot of snakes, but she won. But it was midnight, and Cinderella lost a slipper. The prince snake looked and looked a long way. He went to Cinderella's house. He tried it on the stepsisters, but it did not fit. He tried it on Cinderella's and it fit, and they lived happily ever after.
Off in a distant land, there lived a nice fish named Cinderfish. She lives with her two mean stepsister sharks in the coral reef. One day in the newspaper said there's a fish ball. Cinderfish wanted to go to the fish ball. The stepsisters said to Cinderfish, do you want to come? Just teasing her, and she said yes. Don't Don't be ridiculous, said the stepsisters. Sister Sharks, you can't come because you look too funny. And laughing and dancing, they and said to Cinderfish, don't be lazy when we are gone. Then a old woman appeared and said, and Cinderfish said, who are you? I'm your fairy godmother fish. I came here to help you to go to the fish bowl. The fairy godmother waved her magical fan, and Cinderfish had a beautiful dress and a beautiful necklace. But be back before it is midnight. Soon she went to the fish bowl. Her and the prince danced every music that they played. Then the clock of the palace struck 12, so she ran out of the prince's arms. The prince said, come back. But when she ran, her necklace fell out, and Cinderfish was 2, almost 3, until she was aroused again. So she decided to not pick it up. Find the princess for me, said the prince. Me. So they all went to find the princess. The Grand Duke came to Cinderella's house, and the footmen. They tried it on a station to sell his boat, but it didn't fit none of them. Then Cinderfish said, can I try it on? And it fit perfectly. And she returned to the palace, and then they married and lived happily ever after again. Off in a distant land lived a nice fish named Cinderfish. She lived in the quarry with her 2 mean step shark sisters. One day in a newspaper said, there's a fish bowl. Cinderfish wanted to go to the fish bowl. The stepsisters said to Cinderfish, do you want to come? Just try teasing her, and she said, yes. Don't be ridiculous, said the stepsister sharks. You can't go because you look too funny, and laughter, and do not be lazy when we're gone. Then an old woman appeared, and Cinderfish said, who are you? Who are you? I'm your fairy godmother. Why are you crying? I want to go to the fish bowl. And then the fairy godmother said, go to the ball. But I can't. I can't go with this frax I have. Mises a magical fin. When the fairy godmother waved her magical fin, Cinderfish had a beautiful necklace on her neck. But be back before it is midnight. So she went to the fish bowl. Her and the prince octopus to get her. The clock struck 12, so Cinderfish ran out of the prince's arms, and the prince rushed with Cinderella. And when the necklace fell, she didn't have time to get it on back at the castle. The prince said, find the princess for me, and the prince for me. Then the Grand Duke came into her house. The stepmother put Cinderfish in her room, and the Prince Octopus came. But her friends helped her get out because they distracted the stepmother, and the stepsisters tried it on, but none of them fit. Cinderella was free. Cinderfish was free, and then the Grand Duke was just about to leave, and Cinderella said, "Your Grace," and they turned back, but the mean stepmother shark didn't want Cinderella fish to try it on, so she let the footman trip, and the necklace broke into 200 pieces. And then I can help. You see, I have the other slipper, so the footman tried it on Cinderella's tiny foot, and it fit perfectly. She returned to the palace and married and lived happily ever after again. Once upon a time, there was a fish whose name was Cinderfish. She lived in the coral reef with two mean starfish sisters. The two mean starfish sisters said to Cinderfish, "The prince will not dance with you." Then they went to the crazy dance. Cinderfish was sad. She did a lot of work. The fairy godmother came and she said, "I am your fairy godmother." Then the fairy godmother said to Cinderfish, "Where are you going?" Cinderella said to the fairy godmother, "I am going to a crazy dance, but I can't go." "Yes, you can," said the fairy godmother. Cinderella was pretty. She went to the crazy dance. She danced with the prince. She ran and she lost two things. One, she lost a crown. Two, she lost a glass slipper. Cinderella went to her home. The prince went to Cinderella's house. The two mean sisters opened the door. The prince bring the glass slipper with him. One sister said, "Me first," said the mean sister. It didn't fit on her. The other sister might fit on it. It didn't fit on her. Cinderella came down stairs. The glass slipper fits on Cinderella. The prince said to Cinderella, "You are going to be my princess." Cinderella was happy. They fell in love. They lived happily ever after. Long, long ago, there was a camel named Camarilla. She lived in the desert. They were two snakes that were mean to Camarilla. One day there was a desert show, and Camarilla was not invited. The fairy godmother gave her a magical ring to go to the desert show. The snake saw Camarilla dancing with the 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 king said, "Who will fit this? No time for sheep dancing with the king." It was time for she to go because it was midnight. The king said, "Who will fit this ring?" The king, who will fit on this show? The king and Owen lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, there lived a nice duck named Cinderella duck. She lived in the village. She lived with her sisters. She worked for them, and she says, "You are not coming in the party because she don't have wings." Then she sewed up, and then fairy godmother came to her house. Then she gave her two big wings. Then she go to the party. Then she danced with the girls. Then it was night. She ran quickly, and her wings got out from her back. The back bird, back bird said, bird princess, "These wings fit, that is my prince, then I will marry her." Then all the birds says, all the birds says, "Can I try?" But it is not her. Says, then the dog said, "Can I try?" The bird will say yes. Then it was fit in her back. Thank you.
Listen to it.
Once upon a time that there lived a bird named Cinderbird. She had stepsisters that were mean. The stepsister didn't like Cinderbird. Cinderbird said, "Can I go?" The stepsister said no. Then a fairy godmother came and turned Cinderbird into an eagle. She went to a tropical ball, and the prince was there. She said, "The clock rang," and she said to the prince, "I have to go." She lost her feather. The prince came to Cinderbird's house, and the prince put the feather on the snakes and then didn't fit. Cinderbird came. She said, "Can I try it?" Then it fit perfectly, and they lived happily ever after. Once upon a time in the ocean, there lived a fish named Cinderfish with two other fishes. One day there was a race, but the other fishes did not let her go. Instead, she stayed at
the reef, but then she heard a voice. I will help you. You go to the race, but you shall need speed. I will give you speed. And Erin to her the race. She was at the line. She swam fast as she was first. Then it was midnight. The prince was amazed, but she noticed it was midnight. She swam fast. The ring fell. The prince picked up the ring. He said, I will find the that the ring that fits this fish. Mean this tried fits this ring. The prince tried the mean fishes. It was too tight for for cinder fishes and tried it on. It fits perfectly. The prince found the princess and lived happily ever after. Okay?
Uncle there lived a monkey. She lived in the tropical rainforest. It was so beautiful. The birds came there and they loved her. But one day the dad remarried, but he married a woman that was so evil. She made her do all of it. But the evil woman had she daughters. They were so evil. They would tell so the stepsisters raced to the house when Clyde's mother dresses. You cannot go to the hall. The stepsister, the mother, couldn't but Miss Weasley said, why are you crying? Said the fairy bird. Because I wanted to go to the ball. We'll use a dress and a pumpkin, then we will need 3 mice. Okay, that is all. Bippity boppity boo. The pumpkin turned into a beautiful carriage, and the 3 mice turned into 3 white horses. That was so beautiful for Cinder Monkey. The beautiful magic bird said, come on, you're going to miss the ball. She said, but my shoes. Oh, I almost forgot you shoes, bippity boppity. They are made out of glass. Cinder Monkey said, I know how off to the ball. I almost forgot the magic goes away at midnight, said the magic bird. Okay, said Cinder Monkey. So she went to the ball. Cinder Monkey was nervous, but she went to the ball. So she went, and all of the people had their eyes on her dress, and the people said, whispering, how did she get that dress? And the prince had eyes on Cinder Monkey too, and the princess and said, do you want to dance? I would love to dance, said Cinderella. So they danced.
Did you listen to it?
And when the stepsisters saw Cinder Monkey,
And then you press
but
it.
they did not know who it was. It was midnight, and Cinder Monkey remembered the warning. So she left, and she was running down the stairs. She lost a slipper. She tried to get it, but she couldn't get it. So she got in her carriage and left, but the guards ran after. But she got home, and it started to rain. But Cinder Monkey was happy that she got to dance with the prince. But then the evil stepsisters were on their way, so Cinder Monkey quickly got home. When Cinder Monkey got home, the stepsisters got home, so Cinder Monkey quickly made tea. The stepsisters told Cinder Monkey all about the missing princess. Cinder Monkey was winking, but the stepmother noticed Cinder Monkey was a missing princess, so the stepmother got the slipper, and she said, I will tell you
Your volume?
and be told my mistake. Said Cinder Monkey. Someone gave it to me.
I can hear you.
One gave you it.
Oh, you know what that is? That's your breath.
No one
You're breathing
could
into the
give
microphone,
it.
so it sounds like. Want to try again?
Someone did
Okay, one more time.
I think, well, it's
give
like,
it to me.
I had to take, like, I had to breathe because.
No one did.
Right.
And
So
the
let's fix our microphone so it's not right in our mouth.
the slipper and step.
Yeah.
Cinder Monkey said, no, you
I
aren't
think I can,
and
I don't actually think I can hold my breath for a long time.
You're not going to hold your breath.
locked her in the basement. And Cinder
Don't touch
Monkey
yourself, because if you touch it, then you're going to
crying, but the guards came to see all of the woman's feet and see if it fits on the woman's all of the world. So they did. They got to Cinder Monkey's home, and it was the last
A beautiful, killing mountain. She lives in
see.
the
So the
She
step
has two
sisters turned on the slipper, tried on the slipper, and
but she had a lot of chores to
it
do.
didn't fit,
So
and
burning
they
and
tried hard. They heard a sweet little voice. Is there another one? Here, no, said the stepmother. Then your cat knows how to sing. Haha, no. And the prince king let me go and check. Can I? Yes. And he went to the basement, and there was Cinder Monkey. See, she is here. Here she is, but it can't fit her. We'll see about that, said the Prince Monkey, and he went to the downstairs and saw Cinder Monkey. Tried on this slipper, said Prince Monkey, and it fit on Cinder Monkey's feet. So they went to eat at IHOP and then went to Tropical Rainforest game shop, and they played and eat bananas, and they got married and lived happily ever after. That is the end of the story. Dun dun.